What up? What up? What up? It's been a long, long time, but we're back. And it's been uh, a little bit of a trick getting everything set up. So bear with me. There may be some technical difficulties that we work out. My setup's a little bit different, but joining me for some familiarity, the man that actually made this happen today caught me at the right time, asked me for the 100th time, and I finally said yes. Moose,
Yo,
how you doing?
let's go. You gotta do the thing.
Oh, the thing? Sure.
The thing we always did. You gotta bring it back.
That was more you. That was more. I don't need to flex. You can just see it, right?
We're old now, bro. We're old now.
Yeah. Well, it's also Wednesday. It's not a T-shirt Tuesday. It's not a T-shirt
Yeah,
Thursday.
it's a weird day, a weird slate, and we got a lot to talk about. I don't think this slate has been marketed enough. The contests aren't really that big enough on DK. I mean, this is the start of Worlds, and it feels like DraftKings did really well for us with this big tournament that everybody qualified for, whoever got a ticket. But in regards to the actual slate, it feels kind of underwhelming, and we
I,
can talk about that in the games.
I don't know. It seems pretty interesting to me. I think that if I had a little bit more faith in DraftKings, I probably would have
Yeah,
chased an entry. But I thought that they were going to fuck it up. It seemed like they were going to fuck it up, and then at the last minute, they swooped in, took the suggestions of the many, put the 8 game slate on, and made this a little bit more interesting. Now there's an opportunity for you guys to really win first place, as opposed to chop it on a 3 game slate that could have been absolutely horrendous. Possibly okay for people that had a lot of tickets and could have spread out those, diversify, I should say. But now it's interesting. 8 game slate. I think there's a lot of live dogs. We'll talk about that. But look, a lot's changed. One of the things that has changed is apparently now that Twitter is X, you can't broadcast to it unless you're a premium account. I'm not a premium account, but if you guys want to repost or share this, please do. The Twitter or the YouTube link is in one of my tweets or X's. I don't even know what the hell it's called. But a lot else has changed, Moose. A lot else has changed.
give
Uh,
me the scoop while I go grab my calls. Tell me.
I was gonna say that you got married.
I got married.
Uh, yeah, married. My hair is incredibly long now. I
Yeah,
don't
what
think I've cut
happened?
it.
Tell me about the hair.
It just hasn't been cut, dude. Look, it's just
Your
it's back
wife,
there.
your wife like it?
Oh yeah, she likes it. And look who we have here. Look who we have here. We
Who is
have
it?
yet
Who is
another person. Moose was incredibly insistent, not only on having a co, but having just literally everybody here. We've got
Everybody,
it?
we've got
Yo,
Big
let's
Kev.
go.
Looks like he is chilling in his
Like a villain.
absolutely high dollar suite here, getting ready
Let's go. Also,
to
I'm moving.
possibly win
I'm
this thing,
leaving.
right?
I'm leaving Cali, boys. It's gone. We're done. I am moving to the East Coast to be with my boys.
who
What's
are
up,
your
Kev?
boys?
You guys.
What's up? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm moving, and hopefully that goes well. But Kev, big slate, lots to talk about. Uh, I don't know. I wanted to run it back one time because we've never had a slate this big, and then DraftKings let us down with these absolutely piss poor small contests.
Bro, we literally had two of these slates last year.
These two big 8 game slates.
Yeah,
Was it a 6 game or an 8 game?
8 game.
But it wasn't that exciting, right?
That was pretty fucking exciting. It was like 20K up top.
It's five
It's
k
like
up top is like
half
nothing.
the price. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but that's expected with their freaking final is today. Like, you can't expect them to.
Yeah, a
Yeah, I
lot of things
expect.
are
Yeah.
not working in their
Yeah,
favor. It's a final. They've never
What
taken
final?
any of these like day slates really that seriously, and rightfully so. It starts at 8 a.m. It's a fucking
I
eight
think
game
it's early
slate.
enough to where it's like could be treated as uh
I mean,
Asian slate though, honestly. Because like, who the fuck is waking up at 6, 7 a.m. to make lineups? All my stuff is done the night before, and I just wake up at like 8:30 and watch.
Not gonna lie, a couple of years ago, I used to wake up at 3 a.m. to finalize my lineups, but those days have long since
Dude,
passed.
during COVID days when I was in school, I wouldn't even go to sleep. Like, I would literally sleep from like 7 a.m. when the slate ended to 3 p.m. the next day. Like, I didn't have to be in class.
Fair. Well, let's hop right into this. It's no surprise. I am throwing out my endorsement, my prediction for the champion. I said it a couple months ago. I'm glad he was able to qualify. I am officially endorsing a Big Kev as the League of Legends DraftKings World Champion this year. So don't let me down,
Congratulations,
Kev.
Yeah, thanks.
Are you
Yeah,
a ticket, Kev?
couldn't have picked the worst.
Do you,
Couldn't have picked
do
the
you,
worst horse to back.
do you have a ticket, Kev?
Yeah, I have 3.
Let's go, Kev.
I
All
finished
right.
up my 2-month-long tie-breaking contest with somebody this past week. We went head-to-head like 8 times. I think he was a sub, so we literally just had the same lineup every night. So
Well, I mean, let's be real. The contests just aren't what they were, and other than this huge final, it doesn't. I'm glad that they gave us this final, but it feels like esports is kind of dying down, right? Feels like a lot of the action is more on the CS side and whatever. So I do hope they pick it back up, but I think we need something like COVID to happen for that to happen again. But anyway, we have an actually good contest. Let's play for it.
Well, let's hop into the games that we have and let's take a look and let me figure out how to do this again. All right, so we're going to kick it off at 8 o'clock. We've got Billy Gaming, incredibly large favorites against Mad. I know that I am probably one of the few people that think Mad is better than, I guess, not even think that they're good. I think that they're a lot better than probably Kevin thinks, and is the opinion of just people in general. Do I think that they have a chance in this match? Yeah, I mean, it's a best of 1. This number keeps growing. I think it was like plus 450 the other day. I mean, I'd take a little stab at it if I had money on Bovada. Speaking of that, Kev, did your situation ever get resolved?
Yeah,
Did they resolve it?
I did get unbanned. They gave me $100 for my troubles.
All right. Well,
How nice of them. How nice of them.
you've got to win it back
I
somehow.
got 1/3 of my deposit back.
What better way to win your money back than betting on Foscawi to stomp Knight in a new meta at plus 550? I mean, truthfully, that's a little bit of a joke there. It's an incredibly actual large joke. That is my biggest concern for this matchup is that mid lane. I think the bot lane for Mad Lions is probably like the least of their worries here. Everywhere else on the map, the top lane, Mirwin has incredibly large champion pool, but we're not talking about the guys in LEC here. We are talking about Bing. We've got Knight in the middle, maybe playing some Ari, maybe playing some LeBlanc. This just seems pretty one-sided here. What do you guys think?
I think that there is so much meat on this slate, and this matchup kind of, I don't know. You know how sometimes the first match of the slate kind of sets the tone? I mean, I think it's obvious that we all expect BLG to come in and do what they're going to do, but I think that the problem is that Mad Lions gave us the most information from the play-in, and the information was not good. it was like they squeaked by in a 2-1 against PSG, right? And that's pretty much all we know about them. And I was really impressed with their bot lane, but I don't know if they have the macro, the pace, or the aggression to be able to do anything BLG does. So, they I don't they don't even have side choice in this, right? So the only thing that I can say about this is that it is a new patch. People are going to be busting out different things, and they could be trying other stuff. But it is, tied with the second highest total, the first highest total on the slate, right? So in terms of totals, this is a game that you want exposure to in DFS for sure. The question is like, in a final match, Kev, are you using one of your tickets in either direction?
Definitely not on Mad. I think Mad actually did look really good in the play-ins, or like, not really good, but like they look better than I thought they would. But that's also because PSG looked worse. So read into that what you will. It's like a little bit of a combination of both. But
Yeah,
I mean, like BLG is like at worst the 3rd best team in the world against Mad, who like shouldn't even be here. So like I have no interest in Mad. I mean, BLG is really weird. They has a really high total, but they're priced so high. I wonder if they're going to even go
Well,
that owned tonight because of how highly priced they are in the contest.
they're priced high, but
they do. I mean, they have great upside, like on
but
paper.
but
but
are they
people find
priced
a way.
high? The people find a way, right? Because
people find a way. They
look,
always find a way.
you got Ben cheaper than Doran. You got let me see. I saw another one that was
I
interesting.
mean, I'm not saying they're going to be like lower owned than Hanwha or something, but there's other spots.
I think people will fit them. I think people are going to fit them because this is, obviously what people see as a slam dunk spot, an LPL team playing. The question is if Mad Lions doesn't roll with the punches, is this just a 24-minute game?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think BLG's not as fast as we've seen like T1 last year, where they would literally just, if they get a lead, they'll just win in 21 minutes and the game is dead. I feel like BLG is a little bit more reserved than that, but I think an issue in this game could be kill participation. I don't anticipate a ton of huge team fights. I don't think the game's going to get that late. I mean, if it does, BLG is going to completely fucking smash. So,
well,
if you told me that there were 3 team fights in this game,
there's a 27 and a half total.
3 5v5s in this game, I would probably be 100% on it.
There's a 27 and a half total in this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to score points. The question is, looking at it from a betting perspective, yeah, obviously, you sprinkle Mad Lions or the kill spread because it's a 10 and a half. But from a final spread, I mean, what are we talking about here in terms of are people just going to smash BLG in and call it a day?
I don't think you can. I think it's too hard to fit.
It's fittable. It's
Yeah.
fittable because there's a couple dogs that look interesting and it is an 8-game slate. But the question that I have is, for the final, you're really going to want your combination of teams that you're going to play. You're going to want 20 plus kill totals, right? 22 kills, 25 kills. So BLG is definitely one of those teams that can get there. The question is, does Matt stay alive long enough for them to get there?
And yeah. I mean, also it is the first day of an international tournament, which every time I just blind bet every single game under, because that's how international tournaments usually go. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a slate where one team gets 20 plus kills and that's who you need to win. First day international events are always slower, especially Worlds.
Well, and this is something that we've talked about here, or at least I've talked about at EU Masters, that first day of pool play or now into the Swiss. It does seem like teams are a little more reserved. They're trying to figure things out, but there's always 1 or 2 teams that absolutely just blows it out. I think with 8 games, you're probably looking at 2, perhaps 3 teams that are going to have fantastic scores, and you're going to need that team. What is kind of unique about this is that are they playing these games one after another? I think that's probably better for the perspective of you guys, but for somebody else who's not involved in that tournament, playing 4 of these games at once would be really cool, and then playing the next 4 after that and being done by 12 o'clock. For a Thursday, I think that would be interesting. I don't think that they're going to do it that way. Let's wrap up this game here. I think BLG does beat Mad Lions, but to Kev's point, Mad Lions looked like they schematically had some type of plan coming into plans. They were able to execute that. It's going to have to be a little bit more. It's going to have to be a little 100%. More crafty to fool BLG. They're going to react to it better. They are higher class and higher caliber, but I think Mad Lions did show us that, perhaps in a new meta that they could surprise somebody at plus 550. This isn't a best of 3. It's a best of 1 and anything can happen. I think that these odds are reflective of a best of 3, not a best of 1.
If we have confirmation, it's way, right?
Yeah, it's going to be way. I mean, there's no confirmation of it, but it's going to be way.
Okay.
I mean, something I don't think I've heard anyone really talk about. People have talked about this meta so much. I'm not so sure it's going to change all that much once the Asian teams get in there. And also, if it does, how do you not just love BLG? Knight is literally you're so handicapped in draft against BLG in this tournament if it's going the way people think. Because if BLG's on blue side, You literally have to ban Syndra and you have to ban Jax. You literally have to ban those 2 champions against BLG, or you're going to lose. So
I can agree with that. Yeah,
So
I
it's
think
like,
that this
if it
is such
goes,
a free matchup for Knight. It's just free.
yeah.
Moose, you're gonna have to do something about your muting of your just mute it on your screen because whenever you hit that thing, dude, it's so loud.
Oh, sorry. I keep
No
forgetting
problem.
that I use dog shit
I
headphones.
mean,
Okay, I won't do that
shit.
anymore.
If this matchup goes 40 minutes, yeah, that's.
This matchup is not going 40
Hey,
minutes.
look, dude, if this matchup
Yeah.
goes 40 minutes and you
If
have
this
the balls
matchup
to
goes
game
40
stack
minutes
it,
and you didn't play 4 BLG,
I mean,
you can close the laptop and go back to sleep.
what is Mad's plan here? Build around their bot lane where they lose? Okay.
I mean, they do have red side, which I think is good, which is better for Mad Lions because Merwin has his weird picks. So I think they play something super weird top, and that's the only way they win.
yeah, I mean they're gonna play around.
And it's not in Italy. It's not in Italy top.
No, well, they're not gonna do anything that we've already seen. I think it'll be interesting. But to Kev's point, I do think that we've seen this in past worlds where there was a certain meta in play-ins that was different than the playoffs and the different leagues. But then it gets to the main event and it's completely different. So perhaps that's going to happen again. I do think we'll see some of the ADC mids that kind of like dominated the meta throughout the year weren't as prevalent in play-ins, but I do think that we will see more Ari, more Syndra, some of these champions that we expect to be there, but perhaps we're going to see a little bit more like a Zeri mid or something like that, as we've kind of been accustomed and used to. If you are going to play BLG, perhaps somebody from this matchup is going to find their way into your lineup as well. We've got Top Esports, we've got T1. T1 is the betting favorite here, but it's basically a pick 'em. These two teams did play in the World Cup, and I think that's where this is coming from. I just don't understand how anybody likes this T1 team. This T1 team has lost to some of the most dog shit teams that the LCK has out there, yet it is the World Championships, but it's a best of one. And some of the matches that we've seen T1 lose or almost lose, they dropped that first game. I'm all over Top Esports here. Underdog has kill totals at like 2.5, assist props at 6.5 for Tian. I am way overexposed on Jackie Love, over 2.5 kills. Some of those numbers do not look good with the multipliers anymore because other people outside of me have gone ahead and hit those numbers. I can't bet Jackie Love anymore. I think I'm maxed out. Kev, I'm gonna let you go first in this one because I think that your opinion on this is probably pretty close to mine.
Yeah, I don't know how you can look at this game and like Top Esports other than simply just based on narrative. Like if you can give me a reason, if you can give me a reason you like T1 in this game that isn't narrative based, like, oh, it's the World Championship, oh, it's the meta, oh, it's Faker, oh, like they're clutch, they're all this and that. Like literally everything is like subjective and narrative based with this T1 team. They've just been awful. They've been terrible, and specifically, they've just been bad. Like they've just been bad. Faker is literally terrible right now, and maybe he's gonna be better when he can pick a mage. But he's literally just terrible. He's literally just terrible right now, and he's been terrible since MSI when he got absolutely clapped by real players. And it's just too hard to win in 2024 when your mid laner is awful. So if he's not awful, they're good though.
I think the best thing that T1 have going for them is that they're not playing an LCK team and that they have a new patch and that they're able to, continue with their core and work around the draft how they do. But I mean, I think this is a spot where everybody's on the dog. I feel like Top Esports will be more owned than T1. Obviously, this is a Top Esports ML slam. From everything that we've seen, T1 barely qualifying, doing really bad in the regionals, but they've had time, and you give T1 time, they can make things happen. They've done it again and again. I will be playing T1 in definitely in one of my final spots for sure, and I think this is the best thing. The best thing you can say for T1 in this spot is that it is a best of one. It is a patch. It is a different patch. like you said, there's going to be chances for them to build the way they want to build. And we watched top esports wither away in the finals, right? In the semifinals, we watched them wither away. We watched them get figured out. And I would treat this as more of a clean slate than more people are, based on past and what we've seen.
Moose, cut the shit, dude. The reason that you're betting T1 is because when you won the championship, it was playing a T1 Gen G lineup. I know it, and I don't know if you've tried to recreate that lineup and try and put that back together. I don't think you can fully do it.
I don't think I can
that
fit
there's
it.
Probably ruler, but I know you probably have a T1 Gen G lineup. Don't lie to me. You have a T1 Gen G lineup.
I would love to see if that works. I would love to see if that works in the construction, and if it does, I will definitely entertain it. I just think that I actually really like the fact that T1 starts fresh here on red side, and if like we said, if you can make it work easily. If you give them the opportunity to be successful on this patch, we've seen them be successful before, and this is a spot where I think they will be on their own percentage wise. Maybe not as much as people think because it is a 50-50 match, but I guarantee you that top esports will be more owned than T1.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I think that there are a lot of people that still love T1. I think that's even true amongst people that you think should know better. Still love going to T1, and I think that there's a lot of casuals that are going to back T1 as well. I mean, I took a little trip into the Prize Picks League of Legends chat, and people are telling me that Cream 2 kills over is not a lock, and I get it. It's not necessarily, but man, I'm all over that.
I mean,
I'm betting that with confidence. I've got Jackie Love over 2.5 with confidence. I wouldn't be surprised if neither of those things happened, because I wouldn't be surprised if T1 did somehow find a way to win this game and sun run it all the way into a world championship. But I also wouldn't be surprised if T1 lost 3 games, losing to a Western team and getting knocked out, cashing Kev's plus 117 bet. So
yeah. I mean, I was gonna say, like, to Gelati's point, like, it can't get much worse than T1. I agree. Like, it can't get much worse, but it can also stay bad. Like, it stayed bad for 4 months, and they could literally go 0-3 in this tournament, and they could literally win the tournament. Like, that's their range of outcomes.
Yeah,
and
it's
like,
remember
it's
DRX.
either going to stay bad, very bad, like it's been. And I think it could be in this first game where they just come out and get completely fucking destroyed. And then they're like, okay, we can't play like this. We just have to play our own shit like they did last year. And they won the tournament because of it.
This is almost like T1 is entering almost like DRX, but obviously they're much more popular. Remember DRX when they came in, they were like, what, 1,300 or something to win Worlds? And here we have T1 kind of in the same spot. They're like the 4th qualifying. Yeah, I mean, that's just because of name value, but they obviously they have been on the down end.
Look, here's the reality. Take the nameplate off of T1, put something else, slap HLE on that. How do you not bet top esports? How do you not play top esports? How do you not go to sleep tonight after you've taken your magnesium supplement and dream beautiful top esports victory dreams and not even think about it twice? But because it's T1, because they have the history that they do, it gives you pause. It's unjustifiable. It's wrong.
Yeah.
But I get it.
Before we move on, I wanted to say something. I think if you're playing a 200-person GPP and you need 2 teams, and both of those teams have to score 20 plus kills, I don't feel like either of these teams is going in trying to slug it out. I think that they understand that they have the closest draw. There's a whole tournament to be played. This is a low total, and you're gonna have
24.5. 24.5 is not too low.
24.5 is the low. I think the lowest total on the slate. And
it's the lowest.
If you're either of these teams, you're coming in and you're saying, okay, we drew this person. We have all of EU and NA to play, right? And then we have all the other LCK teams, and then from T1 side as well, the same thing. All of EU and NA to play. I don't know if either of these teams are going to want to are going to want to get into these positions where they're racking up the totals. I mean, are either of these teams capable of giving you 22 kills? Of course, but I don't know if they're going to be approaching the game from that angle.
No, I think this is 15-16. So for DFS, it's not a spot. But I would say if you have a strong on either of these teams, or possibly both of these teams, the kill totals on Underdog, the kill totals for top esports on Underdog, and Prize Picks for that matter, are both incredibly low. You could bet overs on both sides, positionally. I mean, I think we're talking like 1.5 T1 for like owner, for Zeus, for Gumi, all is a 2.5. Jackie's 2.5. So, I mean, I think that there's a lot of juicy ability to make money that way outside of DFS. Let's hop into this Gen G Weibo game. Moose, since Gen G was part of that lineup, and luckily you did need them to win because that was only a 10-person tournament at that point. DRX came out and shocked the world, but nobody had DRX. We got a 25.5 total. My concern with this game is my concern that I have kind of with that TES-T1 matchup that you alluded to, is that these teams don't necessarily score a ton of points. Gen G especially is a team that we've seen come out, score 20, 25 kills a couple times, but more often than not, they're taking care of business against the best teams in the world and doing it in a 15, 16 kill fashion. It is a best of one, so you don't have 2 games to make that up. What kind of confidence do you have in this game? I feel more strongly about this game knowing the winner than almost any of the other games. Obviously, there are 1 or 2 that is the exception, but this is a top 3. I think Gen G wins. I just don't know how they win. Moose?
Yeah, this is another spot where I just thinking about it from a betting perspective, I mean, probably like Kev said, I take the under here. And it's one of those things where we've seen LCK games where Gen G randomly pops off for 20 plus kills, but in this spot, do they need to? Probably not. Are they the best team in the world? Probably. And the favorites to win the tournament. So I think this game is completely Weibo based. Can Weibo roll with the punches? Of course, but I think that they probably want to turn this into a macro centric game where they fill each other out, and then you're probably gonna have two team fights that kind of decide it. I'm not really sure how we find ourselves in a 10.5 kill spread here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't love this for DFS. I'm not gonna have any of this game in the final. I think Gen G is just gonna
walk over 16-6,
beat the shit out of Weibo. What Chovy's gonna do to Xiaohu is just
that's exactly what Gelati said.
There's a couple of washed mids at this tournament. We talked about Faker. Xiaohu is right up there. He is so bad right now. It is hard to watch. He is just not. He's gonna get absolutely unholy stomped, which sucks because the rest of the team is good. But I mean, when you're going against Chovy, who's probably the most skilled player ever, he's just gonna get. I don't know how you overcome a laning gap like that, and if it's gonna be like that, I don't love it for fantasy.
Yeah, for all the talk about Mad not belonging here, I think there are 2 teams that I would say belong here even less, and Weibo and T1 are those 2 teams. I don't know. I believe in Mad above their performance and what they showed, but Weibo is who we saw. T1 is who we saw. They're not good teams. They don't belong here, and I think we're going to see that in this game. Gen G is just one of those interesting DFS kind of angles that you got to get them on the right day, and if you get them on the right day, you're going to get paid off. But more often than not, it's probably a better rule for you to just avoid them altogether, not play them, and just live with the day or 2 that they go off. I mean, I've had them a couple times, won a couple GPPs. It's easier to say that about the now dead 333, the $15 tournament, or any tournament outside of the championship, because you don't get another chance at it, right? So, with the equity that you guys have, 3 or 4, I can totally understand why this doesn't end up in your lineups. Hard fade for DFS. Yeah, I mean, this is Gen G. The reason I think Gen G becomes interesting, though, guys, is because this is what everybody believes. So
This
when
is
you do get
ownership based.
you do get one of the best teams at the lowest ownership because nobody wants to play them, and you just have to hope that you got lucky. And that's part of what life is. Just
Well, let me read
99%
you
luck.
this. Let me read you this pricing, right? And Kev, check this out, right? So you have Keen the same price as Broken Blade. And then you have Canyon the same price as Lucid. You have Chovy the same price as Caps. You have Pays the same price as Aiming, more expensive than Hansama. And then you have Lehens kind of being on the cheaper end at 6K below everybody. And I think that the pricing is where you really find your edge here. Is if this is kind of like the same thing that happens in DFS football, right? Where you could play Jamar Chase or you could play Devontae Adams, right? And so basically you have, these other spots are slam dunk spots that people are going to be all over. And I think that you guys are kind of resonating that Gen G are not going to be owned. And, if the other teams, if DK or G2 don't perform to the level that, Gen scores an extra team fight or plays bully ball and they get an extra 5 kills, that could be the difference between the winning lineup. And so, DFS wise, it makes me like Gen G. It makes me like the fact that they're going to be, less owned, I think, than the other two teams that I mentioned. But from a common sense standpoint, I think we're all on the same page. This feels like a 16-6.
I was going to say 15-5, but I like where your head's at there. Let's move on. I think the second half of this slate gets a lot more interesting. It's a lot harder to pinpoint. I think that there are nothing but live dogs here. So let's hop into this one. Fnatic versus D plus Kia. We've seen some pretty insane performances from Aiming. We've seen this Damwon team have ups and downs. And the same thing we said about Fnatic. I think this was a great draw for Fnatic, to be quite honest. Plus 225 seems a bit heavy. I think they win this game far more than that is implied. But do they win it in a best of one tomorrow? That's the question, Kev. How do you feel about this game? 26.5, one of the higher overs.
Yeah, I was really upset when I saw this game because I absolutely hate both of these teams. Like they're essentially the exact same team. Like Damwon is literally just Korean Fnatic. They both can get leads, and they have absolutely no idea what to do with them. Like we saw in the first 3 games of the regional finals against T1, where Damwon had like a 5K gold lead. Like T1 had no vision at all on top side, and they're just so afraid to start Baron. And they just don't start Baron. They don't start Baron until Dragon comes up, and they go get Dragoned, and they lose all their vision top side, and then T1 gets a Baron and they win the game. Like it's just so disgusting. And then Fnatic, like they're both just so afraid of choking, and like they're just so afraid of throwing that they just end up throwing because they do nothing, and the other team just gets back in the game. I hate both of these teams, but the first thing I did when these numbers came out was bet Fnatic at plus 280. It's like the green gobbled mask calling my name. Like I cannot, like I just can't. I hate this Damwon team. I hate everything about it. Showmaker's on the list as well with washed mid laners. He's just not that good anymore. I love Showmaker, but he's just not that good anymore. I do like Aiming though. He's probably one of the better AD carries at this tournament, but if Aiming isn't completely carrying this team, they just never have a single. They never have a chance to win. It's all Aiming or nothing. So
let me tell you some of these lines. I mean, some of them have been taken down completely on Underdog. Humanoid has no kill prop at this point. Oscarinen 1.5 kills, 3.5 assists. Razor 5.5 assists at a 1.05 multiplier. I think that probably comes out to like a plus 115, plus 120 by their numbers. I'm not sure. On the same accord, if you're looking at the other side of this matchup, you've got a guy like Showmaker at 3.5 kills or 5.5 assists. Damwon is one of those teams that has shown us time and time again that they are comfortable winning with 5 or 6 kills, or 7 or 8 kills. So I'm less enthused with their numbers, but I mean, I'm having a hard time justifying how Razor possibly doesn't even get there in a loss unless it is one of those like 9-7 losses. Boost, go ahead.
So I think this is a spot where a lot of people are going to turn to get their variation from G2 and probably HLE. I think D plus is going to be more owned than Gen. But I think I also agree with you guys on some of the points. I think that Damwon is coming into this game, or D plus is coming into this game feeling pretty confident, and I like the fact that they have red side. This is a better meta for Showmaker, for sure. But I think that you guys nailed it. Aiming is a Hall of Famer, and the man is second in my highest projected 80 carries for this slate, right behind Elk. And so I think that the public is probably going to be on DK. They're going to be on Aiming, and this is probably a good Showmaker angle. But does Damwon Kia get there? Like, do we remember a D plus Kia game that went over 20 kills? And this is kind of like where I think you guys are right, where if they're playing chicken with each other or trying to figure out the meta or trying to figure each other out, we might just have kind of a almost like a very stally slate if people are just trying to figure each other out the whole time. But I think that obviously nobody's on Fnatic. A lot of people don't think that this is their spot, and everybody keeps saying Noah's gonna just get absolutely laned and gapped. This is kind of like a tough spot because I think that the public and the DFS players want D plus to do well, but what angle do they take to perform to get there, to get the numbers that they need to get there? Or do they get there, or do they just, like you said, just walk over a macro, do what they do usually, get the win and walk out, with same thing, 15, 16 kill win? The only scenario I see is if Fnatic, punch up to them, then you're going to see good performances from Showmaker, Aiming, Lucid, fine. The other question is the support question. I know that Moham played in the tournament, but they did bring Kellen.
Yeah,
I think LoL Esports actually had Kellen or Moham listed as the sub on their website, but I'm not 100% sure.
This is a Kellen question.
I wish there was a place to bet it, but if I could bet this, like what game will be the longest on the slate, I would bet this game. Like I just don't see.
That's good for the team slot.
Yeah, it's like I just don't see a world where this game is clean, and that's what's tripping me up for fantasy. Where it's like, if I can't see that, then there has to be points. There has to be kills. Like the only way I can see that this game is clean is like,
I don't think it's
Fnatic like butcher a bot dive or something, and they like trade 1 for 3 on like badly, and then Aiming just like takes over on like a Lucian or something. Like if they play Lucian Nami or something.
Oh yeah, we also have Jinx. We also have Jinx coming up as well. We have Jinx.
But I think we're gonna see an insane amount of Lucian Nami, and we're gonna like it. It's gonna be okay.
I think we're gonna see a fuck ton of Lucian Nami from the Eastern teams.
Well, that's Aiming specialty, right? Lucian, and
but what that makes me think though is that if we're going to see that, I think that from a Western perspective kind of favors teams like Team Liquid, favors teams like FlyQuest, not because that they can play that, but because they've shown an ability to lane swap and try and get away from that. And I think that that's what we're going to see, as opposed to just taking unfavorable matchups against people that are mechanically better.
Yeah.
So that being said, Kev, I think that you're on board with me. These 1.5, 5.5 assists, 1.5 kills, these feel like slam dunks, right?
Yeah, I just can't see this game being clean. I think this is one of like the 4, like there's like 4 key games on this slate, I think, that you have to get right, and this is one of them. And I think Fnatic can win, but I don't know what their path to winning is.
Is it just stalling for 40 minutes?
No, it's 100%.
Because they're bad late games. So like they're not good. They're not good late games. So like, but neither are Dem one. So it's like this game is completely perplexing to me. I just know that it's not going to be. I just know that in my mind it's not going to be clean, but I don't know what that looks like.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's get to the next one. We are only halfway through. We need to kind of pick up a little bit of pace here. No one needs to not int. That is the key. I think that has a fair amount of merit to it.
No inting. Name a more iconic duo.
So we've got Team Liquid and LNG. This is another game for me that, I want to bet LNG. I think that LNG, well, I don't want to bet LNG, but I'd want to back LNG. Let me say it that way in a DFS sense. But I look at this game and it reminds me of a couple other games on the slate where I think this could be a real grinded out game. LNG isn't a team that wants to mix it up. Team Liquid seems, completely apt to sit back as well. I have a hard time thinking that this game is a high total. I don't know. I looked at it earlier, 24.5. So
no, it's low.
It's lowest. Low. Yeah, one of the lowest. And I think that's accurate. If this was a 25, 26, 27, I think it's a slam under. I think it's probably an under at 24.5. And I think Team Liquid's live in this game. And I don't think that it's a situation where you have to assume that the dog just comes out and it's a high kill, sloppy game. Sometimes that's how dogs need to win games. I think this Team Liquid team is actually very good. And I think this LNG team is night and day. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but they like to scale. I don't see this as being incredibly a juicy game. Seems like that's not necessarily the case. I haven't seen ownership, but I have seen a lot of talk about LNG and people playing LNG. And Kev, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to have to think this hard about playing LNG or not on this slate. I personally don't love them on upside wise, but I'm stupid if I don't hear and listen to other people's opinions about it. Not everyone's gonna have the same exact numbers and stuff. So the stuff that I've heard from multiple people is that this is a pretty all right spot for LNG, and yeah, I don't love Liquid. I was never on the train of all the deep throating they got this entire summer. Just LCS fans and English fans and Western fans just full stroking it to Liquid all summer when they're just complete lane swap merchants and they have to fucking lane swap against Immortals and Shopify Rebellion. No, just go out there and lane. Go practice that. You shouldn't be lane swapping against fucking Immortals Castle. Get the fuck out of here.
That's a fair point, but to that same point, if you know that your ultimate goal is to get to Worlds, you're going to get to Worlds, and that's going to be a position where you are going to need to lane swap in situations because you won't be able to straight up lane. I would argue that practicing and being adept to that, even against lesser competition or competition that you should be able to lane properly against, is kind of the right way to approach it. I mean, Western teams have been doing it the other way.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got to the point where that they were so good at it. They're very good at lane swapping, but I think it's gotten to the point where that's their default now. So I think that they're just gonna lane. I think they're just gonna lane swap every game in the tournament. I think it's the only chance that they have to beat these teams. I also think TL is a candidate to go 0-3 in this tournament. I think just like T1, I think their range of outcomes is very volatile. 0-3 or top 8 is my range for them. I don't see a world where they go into this game against Gala and are okay, let's lane against him. No, we're going to the top lane. We'll give the 3 plates and get a better matchup. So
I was thinking to myself earlier though, the one person that I think in this entire tournament outside of maybe a Faker that really benefited from a shift in this meta away from the ADCs is perhaps a guy like Scout. So Scout is a kill total that I've attacked, I thought at 4.5, 5.5. I don't remember what I got it at. I've always been a big Scout believer. And I think that he's better than APA. I don't know. I could be wrong. We'll see tomorrow. Moose, what are your thoughts on this game?
So I'm in the same
Short and
boat.
sweet.
In the same boat. Lane swapping the entire time is not going to work in this tournament. We're in a new patch, and I think that this game would have been a lot more interesting if LNG kept Yagao, but they did. We have Scout, and I think this is a smash spot for Scout. How do you ban him out? And you probably can't. And this is although Liquid has done well internationally, I think that they're going to be over-owned as dogs in a spot where they're going to try to macro against a better macro team, and I just don't see it. Of course, the running esports department joke forever is that LNG is always optimal, but I just don't know how. I just don't know how either of these teams gets there. It's hard for me to imagine. It's hard for me to imagine a lot of teams on this slate getting to 20 kills, but LNG especially, right? And Liquid's not going to be that team that are going to throw themselves at LNG trying to force team fights and stuff like that. So this is just a spot where you're either fading both, hard fade in DFS, or you sprinkle some LNG. I don't see a lot of LNG big stacks in this final, Kev. Perhaps that's an advantage. Perhaps it's the same type of things I said for Gen, but this is one of those spots where it is the lowest total, and just like the Gen total, and it doesn't feel like either of these teams want to fight.
Yeah, I feel like this might be the lowest owned game in the final. One of the the lowest or second lowest, because I don't think anyone's going to want to play TL, and I don't feel like people are lining up to play LNG like they would a BLG or a G2 or something like that.
Well, if you had to pick from a I want a small stack, a couple players from LNG perspective, are you just going Scout Gala? Are you going Scout somebody else?
I'm definitely going Gala. I'm definitely going Gala.
Well,
I don't know about the second one though.
Gala is at 4.5 kills, as is Scout on Underdog, with Scout at a 1.05 multiplier, meaning that a lot more money has come on the under. And then Gala is still straight at that 4.5. So the number that I really liked and I thought was interesting here, I think that they can get some kills, and it's not one that I bet heavily, but I've got Umpty at 5.5 assists. I feel like that's an okay number to take an over on, unless they get completely rolled, and this is a very low scoring game. But I think that this could be something like a 15-7 or like a 16-7. Most of those kills for TL probably coming, with Umpty's hand involved in it. I don't see Appa going ahead and getting a solo kill on Scout, but it could happen.
I think if you like Umpty, then you have to like Team Liquid to win. Because I could see Team Liquid losing like 19-2.
Fair. Well,
I can see them getting absolute shit on.
But at a 5.5, that's a total that you can achieve even in a loss.
Yeah,
that's my point for an assist total.
That would be yeah.
That's still, I mean, if you think TL is going to win, you definitely have that, because
that's
definitely what is going on in the top lane of this game. Like, I don't understand. Are they just going to try to swap into Zika, or what?
I think that's the only area that they probably have an advantage. Not even necessarily an advantage, but they're not severely disadvantaged. I think Impact's good. I think he's the best player on the team. But I don't know. I think we're spending a little bit too much time on this.
Yeah.
Impact's an international janitor. This guy is a complete international janitor. He gets fucking mopped at every international. Team Liquid are the king of almost. Oh, they almost beat T1 twice. Oh my god, they beat Fnatic. Wow, Fnatic is so good. Oh, but they almost beat T1. They almost beat them.
Well, they might have a chance to, if they lose this game and T1 loses, they might have a chance to
almost beat them again. Let's go.
Well, if that happens, if they match up, one thing will be true, and that's one of the teams will not go 0-3. Let's move into this next game, a game that, again, I'm not really excited about the favorite here. Hanwha versus PSG. I thought PSG looked kind of bad at the beginning of play-ins, kind of really pulled it together against some lesser competition, albeit. But what kind of PSG are we going to see here? Plus 450 seems like way too high of a number. Hanwha riding a hot streak, beating Gen G, taking away the Golden Road. But I think Talon's live here. Not loving it. I don't think I love either side of this for DFS because, look, when it comes to PSG Talon, I've seen these guys play as slow as some of these LCK teams, methodical wins, not about skirmishes, more about playing the map, more about getting the win, more about finishing the game, not about killing the opponent. Kev, I'm just going to take a guess. You probably don't have either of these teams in any of your lineups.
No, I don't have any of these two teams in my three lineups. Yeah, I mean, I was not impressed at all with PSG. Like, yeah, they beat 100 Thieves, who were literally one of the three worst teams in play-ins. So
I don't know, Kev. A lot of people were really big on 100 Thieves. I don't get that. I didn't understand that. That seemed to kind of puzzle.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I got absolutely free money on PSG in that series. So, I mean, thank you to all of you NA guys that just love your teams every year. But 100 Thieves fucking sucks, and they dropped a game. They dropped a game to Pain as well. Like,
so the one thing that I'd say about this is that in the tournament that you guys are playing, where you have 1 to 4 or 1 to 8, I suppose, entries, you're probably not looking at Talon the same way until you get to maybe that 6th or 7th or 8th entry if you're one of those guys. But for those of us that are playing the 5K to first, I think Talon becomes a little bit more interesting of a dog to place. Not my favorite one, but that's what makes them interesting, is the fact that they're probably going to go overlooked. Moose, I'm going to give you like 1 bar here. Go ahead. Hit me with your analysts on this, and then we'll move on to the next.
All right, 1 bar. I think that HLE are going to close out no problem, and I don't think Talon is going to be jumping at them. I think this is probably a low total, against a team that is very good and they're methodically good at closing.
All right, fair. Love it. Let's move on to this next game. This is where, we've got a pair of interesting games here. We've got FlyQuest against GAM. FlyQuest, another team that is really good at swapping lanes, or really into doing so. But they're not necessarily a team, if you think that they win, they're not necessarily a team that's always very bloody. I think that there is this perception of Brazil, there's perception of Vietnam, that these are bloody regions. I don't think that's nearly the case of what it was previously. I think the teams are better than what they were previously, less bloody, better teams. Doesn't mean they're good. Not saying that I think that this is a slam spot for GAM, but I don't know if it's a slam spot for either of these teams. But I think FlyQuest, despite the fact that I'm wearing the jersey here, is at risk of an upset, and I do think people are going to play both sides of this probably more than they should. Kev?
Yeah, this is another one of the key games for me. Whenever you have a extremely volatile player in Blippo, you can always lose games. I'm pretty sure Fly dropped games to Immortals and or Shopify in summer, and it's just a BO1, and TI is actually very good. So yeah, I don't love FlyQuest's as far as their kills per win, but I don't know, GAM is a feeder team. We've seen it this year. We've seen it, and I think it's really intriguing for FlyQuest. Even though they're not a bloody team, GAM are feeders.
GAM can be both ways, I think. But to your point, I think the strongest part of GAM is at the top half of the map. And if you're worried about Whippo being a possible weak point for FlyQuest, depending on just what shows up that day, that's a place that they can exploit. These guys have a fair amount of experience, and look, this could even be a game that you consider game stacking in larger GPPs, because some of the games that GAM has played have been absolute 50, 60 kill games with Vikings in summer playoffs. Those were Smolder games. I think Smolder is still going to be in the meta. I think we're going to still see him. So this, maybe this is a Smolder game. Maybe this game is one that has a ton of kills. And I think that that's the same way that people are going to think. Moose, FlyQuest, Gam Esports.
It's Gam time, baby.
I
mean,
think this is a better version of Gam than we've seen.
This
I
is
think,
Gam
but
time.
I mean, we really haven't seen Gam against
This is Gam
top
time.
level competition. So a lot of these teams.
Yeah, Gam
look
also
good.
played. Yeah, they played the complete shit
Okay,
basket. In
play-ins. The worst part about the play-ins is that we got no information on this team at all. We got no information.
They literally played like Mexico, and who was their first game? They literally played Mexico and Evie. Like,
yeah, I think that you have a team that. I mean, obviously, we know what happened with the VCS. A bunch of teams got kicked out. Gam beat the crap out of everybody. They come into the play-ins. They get easy wins, and I just have one question for you guys: if Gam was an LCS team, where do we put them? Third?
There's only 8 teams. I'd probably put them. I think if Gam had played 100 Thieves, they'd probably beat 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I would bet Gam against 100 Thieves.
If Gam played 100 Thieves, they'd be dogs, and that's why I would bet them. But if Gam were the favorite, I would bet 100 Thieves. I think if Gam and 100 Thieves played 10 times, they're probably going to win 5 games each.
Yeah, it's probably 5-5, 6-4.
So I would put Gam probably in the middle of the.
They're contending for the last world spot.
Yeah, I think notoriously we always hear about Gam time internationally. Obviously the team is known for their international performances. The bottom side of FlyQuest is not, right, and so
they are new, so that's an angle you could play as well.
This matchup has banger written all over it. And I think that it's going to be owned on both sides because the way you fit all those big favorites we were talking about, like BLG and Gen G and HLE, is through Gam, and that is the easiest way to fit them. At the same time, can FlyQuest win this game? Of course, like they're gonna, they're significantly favored. It's a 66-33, right, pretty much. And the Whipple question is, is really what plays here. Is what plays its role here. Is this guy going to drop us some sort of a massive performance on Olaf, or is he just going to chill on Renekton? And I think that we have a matchup that finally looks like these teams want to fight. And I don't know if that's going to be disappointing because they don't, but I feel like when you're looking at the slate as a whole, this is the one that is probably the hardest to handicap and understand because we got no information at all on the play-ins, and we know that FlyQuest is beatable. And this is a spot where even though you think, oh, okay, like I'm gonna lock in Gam, I did bet Gam in this spot. I did bet this line, but in overall, like I feel like this is a spot where either if you're seeing a 4-stack of either of these teams as the final winner, you're not surprised. You're like, okay, I did play this. I did play this team to get in there. I did play, FlyQuest to get in there. And this is the spot where these last 2 games are going to be probably where 70% of the money probably gravitates, right? Because these are the 2 spots that are the most interesting for DFS purposes. I don't have no clue what kind of Gam is going to show up. I have no clue what kind of FlyQuest is going to show up. Early projections like on RotoGrinders were showing Masu as the highest projected AD carry, and the FlyQuest altogether was the highest projected AD carry. And even if you just run basic 4-3 stacks, I know it's hard to imagine. Even if you run just basic 4-3 stacks just based on projections, you're going to get a lot of FlyQuest. So I think FlyQuest is going to be popular. I think Gam is going to be popular, and wouldn't surprise me if either of these teams scored high.
All right, well, let's move into the last game, the game that is obviously going to have, I don't know, just a little bit of ownership, not only in the big GPP, but the tournament that you guys are playing in. We've got G2, historically has been a team that has a reputation for A, getting a lot of kills, B, being a feeder team, but a team that kind of flip-flops and shifts around through metas. Sometimes Yike is going to carry, sometimes Caps is going to carry, sometimes it's Broken Blade. You just never really know how they're going to draft. It does make it difficult to bet some of the props. I would tend to believe, and I would not be surprised if we see maybe a Yike carry performance on a not like on like a Wukong or something like that. This is a situation where I like his kill total. I think it's like 3.5, and it's something that we'll build a Prize Picks lineup here. But I think we're going to see a lot of G2. I think some people are going to go to Pain based off of the fact that they believe that the CBLOL is a bloody league. It's not what it was 3-4 years ago. It's still bloodier than some of these other regions. And then just coming off of a performance where we saw Pain really pull through, not so convincingly though, right, Kev? I mean, they played an R7 team that I think we can admit is probably pretty bad. They didn't out macro them in situations where, even though I thought a couple of the fights kind of just didn't go their way because of just situational power or where the champs were at that particular time, they weren't able to out macro them. And we saw that, I think, in the previous matchup. I think it was against PSG in R7. For PSG, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're just so far behind in kills, but we're way up in gold, in objectives. And we didn't see that from Pain. I love this team. I like the guys on it. I battled them quite a bit on Underdog, made some money, but I think G2 is going to win this game. But my question is, what kind of performance are we going to see out of these teams? Is this going to be bloody? And I'm sure that this is on your list, Kev. This is one of the games you have to get right. Whether it's betting aside of it or saying no mas.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the games. Pain. I could make an argument that Pain shouldn't be here. Some of the most disgusting sequences I've ever seen with R7. R7 literally went like 10 for 1 in the span of 2 fights, and off of those fights, Pain got 2 Barons. So like they shouldn't even be here. But I think that they're not a team that's going to like get rolled over, in the sense that like they're not going to be like, you're not going to see this team like give a Baron or give a Dragon. Like they're going to fight it, which makes it very interesting. But I also think G2 can win in like 22 minutes against this team. So like, again, like if you told me there were 3 team fights in BLG, if you told me this game went 32 minutes, then I'd be 100% on G2. But I think like we've seen G2 play Brazil before, and we've seen them win in 19 minutes, and we've also seen them get 30 kills. So those are the range of outcomes for this game. There's like no chance Pain wins though.
I think there's better than a plus 400 chance. So I would happily put like a half a unit on this, and just close your eyes and know that it's a best of 1. Because if this was a best of 3, again, going back to the point we made at the beginning, I think that changes the entire dynamic. Any team can get lucky and snowball a lead and win a game. It's a lot harder to do that 2 out of 3 times. I think Pain can win this game. I think that they have some really good pieces on this team. The performance against R7, I don't think was indicative of how good they were, but it is difficult sometimes judging these teams against the teams within their regions, and knowing that their performance against teams within their region, the quality is much lower there. Moose, G2, Pain Gaming, we've gone through this entire slate. You told me you'd tell me your lineups, and because you said that they were already built. Do either of these crack into your lineup?
Yeah. So, from a betting perspective, I'm just gonna give you guys this holler to Gelati. G2 went 13-33 against the kill spread in summer and season finals. So, and the kill spread is 10 kills. So, and the reason why is because they had abysmal early games and they looked checked out. And I'll be honest, I'm not a LEC fan, but if you're a betting man, 10.5 is a hell of a line. And you've probably taken the Pain Gaming 10.5, but at the same time, the early game issues might be what provides us with this big total, right? If Pain Gaming's carries stay in there, they roll with the punches, then we have a real game on our hands where G2 has to figure out once again how they're going to win, and from there we're going to develop lots of kills, high kill totals, and that's going to push them, especially in this spot. This is going to be the most owned team on the slate. G2 will be owned heavy. And take that for how you will. I think that you have to have exposure to the G2, and like J-Rob said, G2 are notorious for this kind of spot where they're going in. We haven't seen them in a month. We just watched Pain Gaming duke it out through an entire play-in. Our Pain Gaming live, hell yeah. But them being live is what makes G2 so much more interesting in this spot than all the other games we talked about. You definitely want exposure. I have 4 tickets. I don't think I can use one on Pain Gaming. I don't think I have the room, based on the lineups that I'm making. But I think a lot of people are going to smash G2, and I think that where you find your edge there is, like you said, through a mid captain, a jungle captain, or something that gets you a little bit more, interested in and unique. And that's kind of hard to do because G2 are expensive as hell. They are very expensive on this late. Yike is the second priciest jungler. You have Broken Blade is up high, Caps is up high, Hans is where people are going to find their value. But I think that of 200 entries, if you see 50 of them 4-stack G2s, don't be surprised because people are going to have a lot of exposure to G2.
So is that what you think? 25% for G2?
25% what?
Ownership.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's an 8-game slate, dude, but I think that G2 will be the highest owned, and I think that people are gonna be trying to fit in their pieces for sure. I think that people are gonna try to fit in their pieces for sure in a 3 or 4 stack fashion. And yeah, out of all the teams that we talked about today, the team that you can picture the most walking out with a 28 kill win on top is G2, right? So this is going to be the most owned. And when you look back at the history of G2, with their history with kill spreads and stuff, it makes it a definitely interesting game. But also, we've had G2 come out in the LEC and put up some pretty lackluster performances. Like a 20-point performance from this team doesn't get you there. If you're 4-stacking these guys and as much as the other people, people are going to be expecting 30 plus points from each position.
Okay, fair.
So this is definitely the most interesting, and I think you're going to see a little bit of Pain Gaming in that final. I think you're going to see a lot of G2.
All right, so 25%. Kev, do you agree with that? Do you think 25% in the 200-person tournament is accurate?
I'm not sure. I've never really played in a contest like this before. I do agree that they're going to be the highest owned, but I was going to ask Moose what he thought. Like, what is the highest owned? Because in the main contest, when there's 15,000 people, it's like 20% is max. We saw that.
Yeah,
last
I
year
think 20%.
Yeah, but it's not a 3,000, 5,000 person contest like we saw last year. So it's going to be inflated.
Yeah, well, people aren't going to take the same chances with that small amount of entries. It's like a really big single entry contest in a sense.
Yeah, there's 66 people in it. So
yeah, that changes that dynamic. I think 25% is probably pretty accurate. It wouldn't shock me if they were at 30%. I would probably feel pretty good if I saw 30%. But my question is 30%. I mean,
I honestly hope
probably have some G2.
Yeah, I honestly hope no team is that high owned. Like, I want the lineups to be spread out. I don't want it to be like, okay, I'm fading this team. If this team does well, I'm completely dead. If this team does bad, I'm like super live to win. Like, I don't want any team to be like that. But if there was, it's either G2 or BLG. Like,
all right, well, let's wrap up the DFS talk with this. Moose, give me your sneaky team that could be in the winning lineup in the big GPP and the sneaky team that could possibly, you don't have to give me for the 200 man if you don't want to, but in the big GPP 5K to first, sneaky team that you think could be in the lineup that's going to be off the radar.
T1.
Okay. I don't think that's sneaky, but fair. Kev, sneaky team 5K to first. Who do you think it is?
You are such a disgusting glazer. It's sickening.
I mean, he did win 50 grand with him, so I mean,
yeah,
it's kind
I
of
know, but it's just disgusting. Sneaky team. Gam.
By the way, I'm sorry. I should have laid this out for you guys. There's 66 players. Thanks for Waxy for messing with it. There's 66 players and 23. Sorry. 23 have one shot.
He literally
And
said that 3 minutes ago.
So 33% is a little bit. It's possible, but ridiculous.
Well, it's not, because if you have 3 lineups, are you telling me that you're not playing G2 in one of them?
Oh yeah, you have to.
So now you have, like, okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that ridiculous.
All right, Kev, what was your pick? Sorry.
Sneaky team for me is Genji.
Gam.
I think we talked about it. Genji is a sneaky team, like you said, that they're up there. They're priced around some of these other teams that you're going to want to click. So I think that is a sneaky team. And I think the one team that's just going to go completely overlooked, probably justifiable, but if HLE, I think HLE is the favorite that nobody's going to want to play. I don't want to play him. Godspeed to you if you do. And, congratulations if they do go off. So one thing I wanted to touch on real quick here before we kind of sign off is we're going to do 2 things. Moose, because you said what you said, I wanted to take a look at this here real quick. How big is that on the screen? It's really tiny. Hang on. How's that look? That looks better. So if we go to League of Legends, based off of what you just said, G2 doesn't have a lot of wins where they cover the spread, which would indicate that Pain is going to get some kills, right? So when we're looking at these Pain gaming guys, Weiser 1.5, Varia 4.5 assists. I mean, are these absolute slams?
That Titan one over
the Titan.
I like
Titan
that
one.
They kind of go where he takes them, I think.
Well, so here's the one problem that I have with this. I think my favorite is this one right here, 4.5 assists. Again, I can see a game where they get 5 or 6 kills. He's involved in all of them, and Titan has 1 kill because nothing came in the bottom lane. But I think both of them are good. The 1.07 does make that interesting. I've got a fair amount of this already, so I think I'm going to probably go here. The other one that I kind of made mention of, I do like this one too. It's been bet down. And then, Yike at 2.5. Again, I think that there's a little more versatility in the champion pool in the jungle, that we're going to see some Wukong games. And when your jungler gets Wukong and you have the under, you're going to feel pretty sad when your jungler has Wukong and you have the over, whether it's assists or kills. You're probably going to feel pretty good.
I will say, Nathan's projection 32, or I guess 33. That's not that high
for fantasy points.
Yeah. So,
well, if you want to look at the rest of them, where's Way 34. So if you go 34, let's say a Lucid 27.
Interesting.
The problem that I think with this one is that they're all priced relative to.
It's got to be relative to odds, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
1.5 kills
that's,
for 369.
We're running some of this.
Yeah.
Well, like Gooby's 2.5, Jackie loves 2.5, but you can see the money's coming in on the over, and these numbers have been adjusted down, because if we go over to Prizepicks and take a look at what they have. And the difference is Prizepicks usually starts around the same thing, but they adjust based off of action. Why can I not find it? There it is.
Does Underdog adjust based on action?
They adjust the multiplier, not the number. Very rarely will they change the number. But we look at this and we look at map 1 kill, not combos, but we look at like a Jackie Love, it's 4, Cream, it's 3.5. I think he's like a markdown square. Whereas Chovy's 4.5, Light's 2.5. Some of these other numbers are pretty significantly lower. Scout's 4. It's the same on the other. Not a lot of action there. PSG, I think this is a number that I'm interested in. He just always finds a way to get 1 or 2 kills. But to your point, I mean, if you like GAM, I mean, there's some really attractive GAM totals, some really attractive G2 totals, and they don't even have, they don't play the supports here in the underdogs. So I don't know, some interesting shots there. There's always the 1 kill total for a jungler.
I think
he's a tough guy to bet.
Also in DFS, like Kev, you see, if there's one jungler that gives you 10 or 11 kills, is that just the end of the slate?
Probably, yeah.
Right, because I mean, it feels like
if your jungler has 11 kills, outside of like a couple of random performances where they've got like 80% kill share, if your jungler has 11 kills, like your team probably has 25. Like,
yeah, I mean,
not necessarily. They could have 17. I can see an 11-0-6 type of scenario. I've seen it plenty of times. I bet the over on assists. I guess maybe I'm a little sensitive to that. I saw, especially in NACL, I would bet assists, and somehow dudes would be stealing kills all the time. You see it a lot more in lower leagues than you do in like some of the top leagues. The jungler knows that like he doesn't need to last hit on Vi. Just not fucking necessary. Get your assist and move on. But
I could see Canyon getting like 10 though.
I was thinking. I don't know about Canyon. I was thinking Peanut.
Canyon's a 2.5 total, by the way.
Peanut. I was thinking Peanut, Yike inspired, like those guys.
Yeah. There's not many. Like the only really champion like he's gonna get played. I can't get that many kills. It's like Viego,
Wukong. I don't think you.
I don't even know if Wukong can get that many. He has to get all the. He has to get all the early ones. Is the problem.
Yeah,
it's like we saw like karaoke. He started with like 4. He was like 4-0 to start, and they ended up having like 29 kills in that game, and then he only finished with like 6 or something.
But he's not a kill junk. Like he's a guy that you can
is he not
under? No, like in a best of 3 or best of 5, his number was typically like 3. So like 3 games, like he's a 1 kill a game, but he's a Maokai. He's a.
I could see Levy. I could see Levy getting. Or inspired. I could see one of those two getting it in like a big kill game because they're pretty like they're pretty resource heavy. Yeah, or Elio as well. They're pretty resource heavy junglers. So.
All right. Well, an owner could do it too, and he'd do it on just randomly on a Vi when you bet is under. All right. Well, hey, that's it. It was a little choppy here. It's been a year and a half. Plans were to have come back in summer. Didn't happen. But the plans are to come back maybe the next couple of nights. I don't think I can do tomorrow, but should be able to do Friday, should be able to do Saturday, whether either of you are able to do it. If my endorsement does ring true, I hope to see you, Kev, back to, have a victory lap of your
Hell
win.
yeah, Kev, hit this shit.
I would imagine.
I'd trade T1 winning worlds for a win on the slate.
Look at this T1 hater, bro.
Dude,
hater.
I'll fucking root them on. If you guarantee me that I get to win this final, I will root T1.
Look at this T1. Look at this T1 hater over here, dude.
All right. Well, that's it, guys. I'm going to figure out how to take this out. Let's just listen to the musical stylings of Kiss from a Shark.
Tuesday on the Shark Cove, let's all celebrate. 2 dudes in tank tops to talk about league. Where to shop? These sharks are the best in the game. did you know that on the show on Tuesday it's a gun show? The arms out for all to see. Tank Top Tuesday on the Shark Let's all celebrate. Two dudes in tank tops to talk about league. Way too sharp, these sharks are the best in the game.